What's up, fam? It's Brian Castrillo. Just watched Daredevil Born Again Episode 2 titled Optics, and this was an amazing episode. But before we get started, I want to talk about a character who is in this episode titled White Tiger. Also, his name was Hector Ayala, but the actor's name was Camar de los Reyes. And unfortunately, shortly after filming for Daredevil, he had passed away from cancer. He was only 56, and this is leaving a huge void within the community with his family. And I just want to say he did an amazing job in this episode. My thoughts and prayers go out to him, his family, and his friends. And you will definitely be missed. What a powerful performance that he did. I'm just so sad to see or hear of this bad news. But anyways, before we get started, spoilers are coming, so let's talk about them. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, this episode is titled Optics, and that's because throughout this episode, we're seeing Kingpin and Daredevil who are having an image problem within their city and their community, also with their peers. Now, Kingpin, of course, with his past, being a thug, being a big crime syndicate, nobody likes him, nobody respects him. People within the city, obviously he got elected to mayor, but there's still a lot of people who do not trust him. Daredevil essentially walked away from being Daredevil, and throughout this episode, we're seeing people that are saying, we don't need Daredevil. Who is he? He left us. We don't need his help anymore. And of course, this is being further pushed by Kingpin, saying that he's a vigilante. We don't need him. And right in the beginning of the episode, we see Fisk talking to his constituents shortly after winning, saying that we don't need these vigilantes. New Yorkers are tough, resilient, and we don't need people dressed up like a spider, aka Spider-Man, a man with a skull, the Punisher, and of course Daredevil. The fact that he called out all three is amazing, and if we get all three of those in the same episode, chef's kiss. So I hope that's going to happen. That'll be amazing. But anyways, like I said, throughout this episode, we're getting a lot of back and forth, with Daredevil trying to repair his image within his peers and his community, as well as Kingpin doing the same thing. And right in the beginning, we see that he's talking to the community, saying how he's going to clean up everything. Then there's a moment where we see White Tiger, and he's walking down into the subway. We see two guys who appear to be thugs, and they're beating up another guy, and a fight ensues, and White Tiger tells him, stop it. And he's not in his outfit or anything. But he sees that and he tries to stop and help and be a good Samaritan. Fight ensues. The other guy gets away. So now they're turning their, focus on him. And eventually he trips. So they don't even tell him they're cops at the time. But we do find out because one of them trips over him and basically falls right into an oncoming subway train, which, oh my gosh, that was a wild scene. And then he lets him know he's a cop, and they arrest White Tiger. Now, again, we start seeing people say, we don't need Daredevil again, blah, 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 blah. But then we see Fisk having a conversation where he's talking about his father and what he meant to the city and everything he's done, and he wants to basically live within that image, but he's going to have to repair the optics of his image. And, it pans down. We see his fists are still bloodied up from the fight. And he wants to, repair what he is. And he does mention how him and his wife, Vanessa, are not doing well, and he needs time to try and repair that. He basically infers that therapy is probably on the horizon. But then we see a moment where he is on this bridge, and there's a hole in the bridge, and people are not knowing what to do, and he basically gets out of the car and he goes up to the hole. The construction guys are running up, and he's like, why hasn't this been fixed yet? And he's like, red tape, blah, 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 blah. He's like, I don't care, consider it approved, go take care of this now. And he gets it done. This is a good look for him. This is where he's starting to change how he's viewed within his community. Then we see Daredevil, and he is at the police station and he's talking to a potential client, but then he starts to hear the cops in this back room, and they're beating up White Tiger, of course Hector. And so he goes in there to stop this, and he asks him, what had happened. He gets his side of the story, and he believes him. But there's something about what he's saying that he's not telling him, because he doesn't realize that he's White Tiger yet. Then we see Fisk, who's having he's speaking to a journalist, and he's talking about getting PD behind him because the PD doesn't trust the police department. They don't trust him. They end up go. We also see him at the funeral for the cop who passed away, and he ends up having a conversation which turns into an argument with the commissioner of the police. And at the end, he's basically threatening him to stay because the commissioner doesn't trust him, like him, and he's talking like he wants to get away, but Kingpin threatens him that he better stay or he's gonna release some information about a child that he had. Then we see I'm sorry, but Daredevil's partner, as well as this man Cherry that he hired to help find information out, and they go to talk to White Tiger's wife, and they end up finding his outfit as White Tiger, and that's how Matt finds out who he is and that he's not telling him the whole truth. Then we see Matt, who basically is telling Cherry that I need you to find out who this ghost is, who the cops were beating up, because this is going to be important to my case, and I need this that's what I want you to do is like take care of this. Then we see Heather, who is Matt's love interest, and she ends up becoming the person that Kingpin and Vanessa, his wife, are going to do therapy with, and they said you have to be sworn to secrecy. Of course, you got that client privilege, and so how is that going to come into play later on when she is, trying to date him, but of course the backstory with Kingpin and that she can't tell him, that's going to be interesting later on. Then we see Matt, he overhears the cop and he's going after, that witness who got away, and Matt calls Cherry, tells him to meet him here to help him out. He goes and warns this character you better take off. You got 20 seconds because they're coming. You hear the police coming. So he jumps out the window, goes to meet with Cherry, and these cops are pissed off at Matt. They recognize him as a lawyer, and they start to threaten him. Eventually, the cop who from the subway, he throws Matt up against the wall, and for a moment we see on his wrist he has a Punisher tattoo right here of the skull, because he appears to be obsessed with the Punisher and he wants to be like the Punisher, but sir, you are no Punisher. And it's shown because then Matt tells him you don't want to do this, and Matt cleans the house with them and basically makes them look stupid and kicks their butt. But anyways, I want to know, what did you guys think of this episode? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next episode.